This is Garden Girl Lynn Gahari with today's Finally Friday video. For today's video, we are going to be creating a Christmas shaker card using some new product from My Mind's Eye. So let's get started. We are going to be using the Winter Wonderland collection by My Mind's Eye. I have the 6x6 paper pad as well as some chipboard pieces. To start, I created a 5 by 5 inches square cardstock card base using just plain craft cardstock. I also cut a piece of 6 by 6 paper. This paper is also from the Winter Wonderland collection, but it's from the 12 by 12 collection pack. And I simply had used the 6 by 6 version of this particular pattern, so I went to the 12 by 12 collection as well. And even though the pattern is larger on the 12 by 12 pieces, it still works for this card. And I really love this dark red wood grain pattern, and I wanted to use it for my card. You can see here that I'm just using my craft knife to cut off the excess. A lot of times when I'm covering my card base with patterned paper, I will usually cut the patterned paper a little bit larger than my actual card base. And I do this because even though I'm using my paper trimmer and I may try to size things exactly, somehow one piece is always a little bit bigger or smaller, and it's just one of those pet peeves that I have. So I always cut my pieces a little bit larger and then trim down so that I know that I'm getting complete coverage on my card base. Here I have a 6 by 6 paper. It's a blue on blue tone snowflake design, and I'm just cutting it down to 4 by 4 inches square. And we're going to use this to layer on our card base. I'm just taking a look at it. And this is the chipboard frame that we will be using later on to create our shaker. So now I'm actually going to round the corners on this particular paper. I'm using a 3/8 inch corner punch. This is We Are Memory Keepers corner punch, and it's actually new to me. And I have to say that I like it. I like the idea of being able to punch corners that are slightly smaller than what I'm used to. So now I'm just going to take my ruler and I'm just going to line up my paper so that I know that I'm getting it straight here, and I'll adhere it right in the middle of my card base. And now I'm going to come in here with a white gel pen and add some dashed lines around the edge of the card front. I love to add dashed lines on most of my projects, and I particularly love to use my white gel pen when I have a darker paper like this dark red wood grain. It really stands out, and you'll see we have some more white in this project. For example, the polka dots on the white chipboard frame that we're using. So I thought that by using the white gel pen, it would just add a little bit more white to the project and tie everything together nicely. So we're all done basically with the card front. We're not going to really do much else with that. And now we're going to move on to creating our actual shaker. This is actually a piece of paper that I cut from one of the papers in the 6 by 6 paper pad. It's actually a corner of one of the designs. And you may ask why I'm actually putting this down, and I'm kind of building my shaker a little backwards. And the reason that I'm doing that is because there's this scene here on the paper, and when I'm placing the chipboard frame over it, I want to make sure that certain portions of the scene show through the shaker. For example, I really want the snowman and that right side of the scene to show through. So I'm going to build my shaker a little bit backwards. You'll see as I go along how that all works out. So this is the chipboard piece that we're going to be using, and the great thing is that it already has adhesive on it. And here I have a piece of clear cardstock that I have cut to size. If you don't have like a clear cardstock or anything like that on hand, you can use packaging. You can use anything that you have in your stash that is clear and just cut it down to size. I'm also going to be using some foam tape, and this is foam tape that I've had in my stash for a while, so I don't know who makes it. But if you don't have foam tape, you can use regular foam squares. I've done that before as well. And you can just make sure that you line them up. When you line them up, get them really close together. That way none of the glitter that you're using for your shaker escapes. And so here I'm just cutting around the chipboard shape. You can see that it's got a very fancy design, so I had to make sure that none of the foam tape was going to show through when I was putting it around the perimeter of the opening. So now I'm just taking off the adhesive of my foam tape, and again, I'm going to work a little bit backwards. I'm actually going to put my glitter down on my card front and then place the chipboard over it. I am going to be using Martha Stewart coarse glitter. I really love this glitter. It's so pretty. It looks like snow, and honestly, I bought this big bottle a while ago and I use it every chance I can get. I'm not a glitter person in general, but when it's Christmas, I take full advantage. So I'm just going to spoon it out here onto my little scene that I have, and I'm going to figure out exactly where I want my chipboard to lay, and I'm just going to press it down. Make sure it's on there really nice and tight and give it a shake. And thankfully no glitter goes flying out, so I know that my tape is exactly where I need it to be. So we have our shaker done, and I am just going to add a sentiment now to the bottom of this card. I'm going to be using another chipboard shape from the Winter Wonderland collection. It just says Christmas on it, and I'm just going to place it down here at the bottom of the shaker. And we're almost done. I just want to add a little bit more of an embellishment. So I'm going to use a snowflake punch and some patterned paper. This is actually the patterned paper that I cut that little scene from. And I'm just going to add it up here in the corner with a red button. This collection also has a button and chipboard pack that comes with it, so that's where this red button came from. And I'm just going to use a little bit of hemp to tie a bow in the center of the button. If you have any questions at all about how I created this particular shaker or shaker cards in general, please feel free to leave your questions in the comment section of this project, and I'll check in and see if I can answer them for you. I've done quite a few shaker cards before, and they're really, honestly, they're so easy to do. If you don't have a chipboard frame like the one we used here, you can actually just cut a frame from regular cardstock or patterned paper. You can use your Silhouette or another die cutting tool, or you can use your metal dies or anything like that, anything that you can use to create a frame. I liked the chipboard in this particular instance, and the great thing is it adds dimension to the card front, but it's still not too bulky that I couldn't put this in an envelope and mail it if I wanted to. So now I'm just going to finish this off here. I'm just tucking these little strands of the hemp, and this card is all done. And here's a look at the finished card. For more information, please visit www.twopeasinabucket.com.